Welcome to Small Biz Life, episode 80, how to listen to your customers online.
Does this sound familiar?
Oh my God, I have so much to do today.
Don't forget to breathe.
But I have almost 400 emails in my inbox and 30 phone calls to make.
Have you looked into getting a virtual assistant yet?
Oh, and I need to schedule all my social media posts.
Did you drink anything today?
I had coffee.
Did you eat today?
Did I mention coffee's a bean?
This is Small Biz Life.
Hey guys, welcome to another exciting episode of Small Biz Life.
Yes, here we go again for the first time.
Because part of being Small Biz Life is constant interruption.
Which definitely makes the recording of material difficult.
Yeah, so this is, I think, the fourth time we've done this intro. But I mean, we understand what you're going through, right? That life is, full of distractions and phones ringing and cats jumping up on tables and, but we are so glad that you are here with us. My name's Kristin Ingram.
And I'm Jeffrey W. Ingram.
And we are a husband and wife team. We own a company called Ingram Digital Media, Inc. And Small Biz Life is part of that. And, we're really here to help you, cut through all that crap that's keeping you busy, but is probably not moving your business forward.
Yeah, because really it's that crap, the minutia of the business that stops us from moving towards the life of our dreams.
Wow, that sounds so awesome, right?
It is. And I want to live in my dreams. I want the people who listen to my show to also be there. Let's all work together and help how we can so we can get a little closer to a better life.
Awesome. That sounds great. So if you're a returning listener, we want to thank you so much for being with us again this week. And if you're new to the show, it's our goal to provide you with enough value that you say, I want to come back and listen again. So I'm going to hit the subscribe button.
That's right. And you might know someone who's also a small business owner, and you might know someone who's also thinking about starting a small business. And you know what? If you can get them listening up front, it's easier to get rid of the crap from your business if you don't start doing it.
Right, exactly. So I wish we had been around when we started our business 10 years ago.
Yeah, but these are your friends. These are your peers, If they don't know how to get to the podcast, give to them a little bit and actually say, hey, this is how you do it. Give me your phone or I'll show you on your computer how you can get this information because it can help them.
Right. And podcasts are just awesome.
Yes.
They've really helped us out tremendously, and it's a great way to kind of work education into your life while you're doing other things.
While you're on the move.
Right, which small business owners always are. So, you might be thinking, I don't have an online business, right? I have a brick and mortar business. So this episode doesn't really apply, because we're talking about listening to our customers online. But no matter what type of business you are, you should have an online presence. And that presence is going to help people connect with you before they pick up the phone. So we have a client that we built a website for a couple years ago. No interest in being online.
No, none. Did not want your typical email opt-in forms where they would have to respond to customers. Just did not want to interact with customers online at all. But so how do we help them get online? Because where we live at that point, that's when it started to be important. And that's growing out to more and more places.
Right. So, they do like landscape design work, and the website that we put together for them, basically was kind of a gallery for them to be able to share the work that they've done, right? Because we've talked a lot on this show about social proof and building relationships and kind of, showing your work to the world. And that was their way of doing it. And that's really helped people to say, okay, I've heard really good things about this company, but now I can see their work.
Yeah.
And it's really impressive.
And a lot of times, when there's a visual element to your work, pictures are the best selling mechanism you have. We've talked about this before with baked goods, crafted items, but really anything where there's a visual result, showing people that result is a powerful tool.
Right. So, this episode is structured so that you can use this whether you have an online business or, a traditional brick and mortar.
Yeah. Because I think also the other problem people run into is they're like, well, you can't really listen to people unless you're in comments all the time, and I don't want to do that, or I don't have the time to do that and run my business, which is understandable. But pretty much the only other way to do it is to spy on my people online, and I think that's something that we need to get past a little bit, because spying indicates to me that you're doing something nefarious with the information. You're selling your customers' data to third parties who want that information. And to me, that's wrong. That is completely unethical. But unless you are upfront with that, you're going to do that to them. Mm-hmm. Now, on the other hand, there are some ways and techniques that you can use information that you can find out about your customers online, without having to spend, every waking moment online reading every comment or trying to engage people. But it allows you to use the tools you have online to learn how to better serve your customer.
Right. And that's really what this is all about. It's serving your customers, serving your business, and serving your family.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of all interrelated. One of the things that I experience a lot when I go out to clients is like, I spent all this money on my website and I'm not getting business from it. Mm-hmm. And one of the first questions I ask is, how many people go to your website? Mm-hmm. And they're like, well, I don't know.
Yeah. Because, the first biggest problem you might have is no one might go to your website. There are billions of websites. Mm-hmm. So people might not find yours.
Right. I mean, cracking into the top, 100,000 websites means that you've got probably 60 to 80,000 unique visitors a month going to your website.
Yeah.
That's a lot of traffic.
Mm-hmm.
And so, if you are, if you're a small local business, you can still be found online. Mm-hmm. Okay. But you've got to understand that, you're probably not going to bring in big traffic numbers like that.
Yeah.
And Google is not just going to magically make people appear on your website.
And, the other thing is, too, is, if you've been in business for a while and you've relied on the yellow pages and you've relied on other forms of ways to attract customers, what you're probably starting to find is diminishing returns for the cost. And I don't know if the cost has started to go down, but years ago when we did Yellow Page ads, oh my goodness, were they expensive.
Oh yeah, and they still are. It's crazy.
And they might still be. I personally don't know. Kristin says they are, and I always believe her. But the thing is, the ROI was pathetic. It never paid for itself.
Right.
And that was 10 years ago.
Right. Well, and the thing is, I mean, when you started that business, we were kind of in the transition between print advertising and online advertising. And we're actually, in April, we're going to do an episode all about different forms of advertising.
Oh, yeah.
And kind of how you can spend your advertising dollars. But, if you're spending large amounts of money on advertising and then you're not going back in and looking at these different types of metrics, you really need to be doing that. Mm-hmm. So that's what we're going to talk about today. Yeah.
So let's talk about essentially some of these metrics and really, because ultimately what you're trying to do is you're trying to improve what they call your SEO results, the people who organically find you through search engines. Like Chris said, it's not magic. There is science and some art behind it. But, also it's increasing your return on investment, right? Because if you spend, let's say, $1,000 a year on your website, which would be a lot for most businesses, if you spend that much a year, you want to at least get that much value back or have at least an indirect result that you're getting from it that's helping you grow your business.
Okay, so how can we start listening to our customers online?
Well, I think it starts with knowing your website statistics. I think that's the first and foremost, the analytics of your website.
And everybody's eyes just glazed over.
That's right. But the thing is, this is the ultimate way to know your customer, right? So like if I can log on and I can see I have 2 users a month when I log into Google Analytics, my major problem is I'm not getting enough users to my webpage. And so that becomes a thing where I can focus and come up with a plan to fix. There's 2 major metrics that Google likes to look at. And I do like Google Analytics because you get a lot from it. Instead of your hits and visitors that people look at and then unique visitors on top of it, they have sessions and users. And so a session is essentially anytime someone spends time on your website. And a user is sort of this unique person and their interactions with you over a month.
Right. And I think it's really important to look at both because it tells you whether or not people are coming back to your website. So one of the stats that I look at for Accounting in Focus is, what percentage of my users are new and how many are returning.
Yeah.
And, that site is really made for college students that are kind of looking for help.
We're expecting a lot of new users.
Right. So I'm expecting lots of new users that are finding us for the first time. And so with that site, like I'm really happy if I can get to 20% returning users.
Yeah. And really, once again, remember, you need to have a plan for what you're using it for. And that brings up a good point because a lot of times, most of us who have an online presence are all about returning users. But that's not the point of the site.
Well, let's go back to our landscaper, right? Yeah. The point of the landscaper's website is to get somebody to go to the website and then make a phone call. They're probably never going to come back. They're going to make the decision that I like your work and I'm going to call you.
Or I don't.
And I'm not going to.
Yep.
So the point of that site is not to get people to keep coming back over and over again.
Yeah.
The point of the site is to get people to make a phone call.
And really, the truth with it is, when you come down to it, understand the purpose of why you are using a tool helps you measure its success. So for them, they're probably looking for, off of their cost, a certain number of phone calls a year. And where that's a simple site, there isn't a huge upkeep cost to it. So, it takes very little for it to break even or make them money. So, and also part of that too is how much do you budget on your site? If it's a one-off, you just want them to come and choose you or not. If you're spending $1,000, $2,000, $3,000 to have it built, I'd have to be sold a pretty good, story to be able to spend that much.
Well, and it really depends on the price point of your product. So,
Yes.
for example, if your goal is to sell one, get one customer a year from your website, but your average customer is $10,000, then, hey, if you spend $1,000 a year on your website,
That's not much.
then that's not a lot. Even if you spend $2,000 on your website, that's not a lot, especially if that's to have the site built and you're just going to do some minimal maintenance and maybe that site lasts you for 3 years or 4 years with some minimal changes. That's not really that bad. If you get $40,000 worth of customers over 4 years. So, you've got to kind of look at the investment that you're making and say, does it make sense for the price point of my product and the volume I'm going to push?
Yeah. And so now that we know a little bit about sessions and users and new users, I want to go into kind of some metrics that will help you troubleshoot the listening part of the metrics. And I think there are 2 big ones that I look for. And then there's a certain place in Google Analytics you need to know. You just need to know. And
because this was a game changer when I found this.
Yes, this was a game changer. And there's so many statistics. I recommend if you're a novice in it, spend it in your audience. That's where you listen to them at, right? So there's an audience section. That's where you should go in, look around, and when you don't know a term, Google it because Google will tell you what their terms are. So,
and actually, there are little question mark circles all over the site
there. Yeah.
that if you put your mouse over, it'll tell you. But, if you don't know who your ideal customer is, Google will tell you if you have enough traffic.
Yeah. And so the first one is bounce rate. Bounce rate, and this is the only real SEO element of this episode. Bounce rate is when someone goes to your website, probably because they've asked a search engine a question. They get and look at it and go, "Oop, nope," and they click back. It's a very defined time frame. I want to say less than 3 seconds, but I might be off there a little bit. But it's a very quick look, and like I spend no time even scanning your site. I just exit out.
Yep.
That's a very bad thing. That tells the Google search engine that you could not answer their question.
Right.
And that's organically the best way to get people to find you in a search engine is to answer their questions. That's what Google wants you to do.
Right. And your search results are really going to be based off your bounce rate compared to other sites in your kind of genre. So, for example, like working with accounting students, most of these sites have really high bounce rates because a student will go in, their attention span's about 4 to 5 seconds, and then they'll decide really quickly, like, does this answer my question or not? So we get a lot of Google traffic, even though our bounce rate is relatively high, because that's the nature of those type of sites.
Yeah. And there's also another term that you'll see in there called drop-offs. And that's not quite the same thing. Essentially, they only spend time on the one page. So they drop off at the point of that page. And it might be their first interaction with you, the second or the third. And that leads into I think the most important thing to get to know first in web analytics is your user flow, how they flow through your site.
So an example of a drop off would be like if you send somebody from Facebook to a blog post and they read that blog post, but they don't go to any other pages. And that's why, we've talked about before having internal links and external links so that people have things to click on to go deeper.
Yeah. That
will decrease your drop-off rate.
And that's why I do think the bounce rate and the drop-offs are the two most important numbers you need to focus on first. Because one, your bounce rate means there's something about the page that is just completely not working. Either you're getting the wrong people in through how you're attracting them to your site, or maybe your site is not mobile friendly and they go to it on their phones and they're bouncing.
Right. And one of the nice things in the analytics is you can see the percentage that are mobile, and you can kind of drill in to see, like, is my bounce rate higher on mobile than it is on desktop?
Or for those people who insist that they have this auto looping 3-second piece of music on their website.
Oh, please take those down.
Please. It was really obnoxious back in 2005. And we've had like 12 years since then to be more annoyed by these. Please don't think they're good. But if you don't believe me, because you say my audience wants that, maybe you're right. Test it. Spend a month, get your analytics, watch it for a month with it on there, take it off for a month, see what happens to your bounce rate. I bet you it goes down.
Right. And I would argue the same thing for like autoplay videos as well.
Yes.
If you have the option for the video to not autoplay, because I can't tell you how many times, I'm kind of doing something and I'll go to a website and the video automatically plays and I'm like, oh, gone, close, gone.
Yeah. Or obnoxious music, or sometimes it's like if I'm on my phone and I go to your site and it's not mobile, and yes, there is a SEO hit for not being mobile friendly, but the bigger one is it's also going to increase your bounce rate, which is going to give you a double whammy on your SEO. So if I go there on my phone and I better really want that information to stay there, I'm more than likely going to bounce out and see if there's someone else close to you in the search results.
Right. No, I think that's really important. So user flow. I love this tool.
Yeah, because essentially what the user flow does is the user flow tells you what's their first interaction with you. And the more frequently that first interaction happens, and first interaction means the first place they go to on your site. So it might be yourdomain.com. If you're, running a huge promotion, trying to drive traffic to a certain page, maybe that page, is really far up there, but it's where your traffic is coming into your site from. And so if they drop off there, that means they spent time there, and there are different reasons, and maybe the purpose of your site, that's not a majorly important thing. However, my thing is always try and make it simple for them to find other things, because usually a purpose of the site is to engage some kind of interaction. Whether it is to have them contact you or to sign up for your email newsletter or whatever it is. Most sites have a ultimate purpose they're trying to achieve, and drop-offs probably aren't a good plan. Now, I'm not saying there are no cases for it. I don't know. If you think you have one, go to facebook.com/groups/smallbizlife. That's what that one is. Okay. Whew. I have so many groups in my head. That and run it past the group, because I'll interact with that. Kristin will probably interact with it, and heck, about half of our group will probably interact with it too. So
right.
But yeah, part of it is knowing your audience. But the thing is, that tells you that they didn't have a reason to go anywhere else. And that autoplay video, if they click on that becomes another interaction, right? Mm-hmm. So now, and people love clicking on videos.
Oh yeah, absolutely. We did, I think we talked about in the last episode, we did a test. We moved the videos higher up on a couple of the pages for counting and focus. And the traffic on the site is much higher. And actually my YouTube channel is benefiting from that as well. So I'm seeing a huge uptick in traffic there. Yeah. So, the great thing with the user flow, though, we've talked about kind of having a plan for your website for where you want people to go, right? How do you want them to interact with your site? And so this is a way to see if they are interacting with your site the way you want them to. So you can look at the detail for your homepage and say, okay, where are people clicking on my homepage? Where do they go next?
Yeah.
And if they're not going where you want them to go, then, you need to consider moving around your homepage so that the things you want them to click on are more prevalent, are closer to the top of the page.
Yeah. And don't be afraid, like we said in the last episode, to make that stuff stick out, right? If you want them to do it, make it obvious, make it easy for them. That's a way you can serve them better, right?
Exactly.
And I think the next thing, and the next major analytics that's important, I think, especially today, with the growth of targeted ads online, are including Facebook pixels along your path. That way, once someone comes in to your website through your Facebook ad, maybe you've targeted, people who live in Windsor Locks who love cupcakes, because they're in this big cupcake group, right? Whether it's making it or whatever. So you've identified people who live in Windsor Locks who also belong to this giant Facebook group. And you get them to come to your website. You see the traffic on the page, but you're not getting the result. Maybe it's an opt-in page for a free recipe giveaway, or maybe it's an opt-in for buy, or maybe it's a direct sale, or whatever you're doing. You don't know where you lose them. But the good thing is, if you use a Facebook pixel, you can then retarget them again and come at it from a slightly different approach to say, hey, maybe this isn't what you wanted, but maybe this is.
Okay, so a Facebook pixel is a piece of code that Facebook gives you that you put on your website that will help track people as they go through your site.
Yep.
So, and you can Google how to add a Facebook pixel to your website.
There are plugins for your WordPress people. There are ways to do it. It's you copy and paste into the code part of your page.
Right. Like I know Kajabi actually has it built into the site that you can just copy and paste the pixel. There's a plugin for WordPress. If you're using something else, go to YouTube, and type what you're using for your website builder and Facebook pixel.
And it's great when it integrates into your whole site like the way Kajabi does it, because this will tell you something else too, that the people who interacted with you and came in through the pixel, maybe they didn't flow to where you wanted them to, but maybe they went somewhere else. And if you get a whole bunch of them going somewhere else, that not only do you can retarget them through a new Facebook ad, maybe the kind of information you want to put in that ad.
Right, exactly. So there's a lot of really good information that you can get out of that. And it used to be really hard to do, and now it's not. Because Facebook is such a huge player in the marketplace that everybody has tried to make it easy for you to put Facebook pixels on your site.
And there's a reason, and Facebook ads are very easy to really drill down and target. So if you don't have a huge budget, you can take advantage of people's sharing on Facebook to help deliver the kind of what you're hoping is a good ad for that person. But once again, it's the idea is you're not trying to trick people to your site. You're trying to attract your natural customers to you.
Right.
And so once again, don't get caught up in this idea that, you're being shady in any way. The information that they're sharing is part of their agreement with Facebook, right? And you did that same thing when you signed up for Facebook. So you will see ads targeted to you. So as long as you're honest and delivering on what you're saying you're going to, you're better serving your customers by using these tools.
Exactly.
And now the next one is you have to know your email opt-in conversions, and mine are pretty bad, to be honest. I've not put a lot of effort into mine. So don't feel like if you're not there at any of these points that you're a bad person.
Right.
I hope not. But these are things that we can all always work on to make it a little bit better. But like, if you have this pop-up that comes up when people come to your site to try and lure them into your newsletter, if it never works, why do we keep them?
Right. And I think, I think that's a really good point, because I think a lot of times we put these different tools on the website and then we get frustrated, but we don't change anything. No. So maybe it's the wording on the opt-in. Mm-hmm. Maybe it's the fact that the opt-in pops up right when they get to the website.
Yes.
We've said on the podcast before, we're huge fans of exit intent pop-ups.
Yeah. Because one, those bounce rate people, will fulfill your idea of being annoyed by your pop-up. Mm-hmm. People who spend time at least reading that one post they go to are less likely to actually, marketers have proven that, they are the people who are more likely to interact with your pop-ups. And definitely the drop-offs are the ones you really need to grab.
Right.
Because then you can start building a relationship with them in a different way.
Well, and if you think about it too, like just think about your own kind of behavior. When I go to a website and the first thing that pops up is the email opt-in, the likelihood that I am going to sign up for your opt-in is 0.
The only time I think I've ever signed up for one is when I went to a page with the intention because I wanted their newsletter.
Right. Slightly less annoying is, okay, I am, 10 seconds into your blog post and the pop-up comes up. Mm-hmm. But when I read a blog post and I find good value in it, and as I'm about to leave the site, an opt-in pops up, I am much more likely to sign up there. And all of the research, all of the analytics have shown that the single most effective way to get people on your email list is to have an exit intent pop-up.
And if you can't get there because you can't afford a tool to help you do an exit intent pop-up, and you don't have the technology background to be able to get it to work, I'm a big believer that, and maybe you should do it anyway, put opt-ins at the bottom of your post.
Yep.
So if they take the time to get down, or at least 3/4 of the way through your post, to give them that opportunity to opt in after they started knowing what value you're going to add to their life by interacting with you. Because ultimately we're listening here to try and build relationships, right?
Right.
And it's really this is like our only way to listen to people who we're not talking to.
Right. And, the thing is to, you can see how many people are going to a page and then how many people are opting in. That's pretty easy. It's much easier if you actually have an opt-in page. So those of you that have downloaded the Dreamcatcher assessment, that you went to a separate page that all it said was, about the tool. You put in your email and then you went to another page. It's really easy to track conversions for something like that, because I know how many people landed on the first page, how many people landed on the second page.
Yep.
And super easy.
Our user flow, we can watch the interactions too. So if people somehow find that other page, we'll know that. So, we'll know what percentage of people went with their first interaction to our special landing page, and then how many of those people ended up in our thank you page.
Right. And that was where you got the Dreamcatcher assessment. There was the video from us. So, it's really important because like little tweaks can make a big difference in your conversions.
Yeah.
They've even, you can even Google this. So they've actually done research that shows that even your button makes a big difference. So, if you put sign up, or get emails, a lot of people will say, well, I don't want any more emails, or I don't want to sign up for another thing for my list.
Yeah.
So if you, instead, if your opt-in is, get it now, or even like, yes, please, I want this thing.
Oh, yes, I need this.
And that's why email opt-ins to get something are more effective than just, hey, sign up for my newsletter. Because people are like, I don't want another newsletter. Oh, but I do want that tool that you're going to give me for free.
I want this thing that you're offering.
Right. So really important to kind of, even look at things like your buttons, you're talking about, sign up for our newsletter. I think on ours, we talk about, getting exclusive content, right? That you can't get anywhere else.
Super secret.
Yeah. So don't make it about like the newsletter or the email, because then you're going to turn people off because people don't want more crap in their email box.
And remember too, whenever you're doing things to improve your website, test it out. Like, whether it's your bounce rate or your conversion rate, change one thing in one place, measure the results before you start going through every web page making the same fix. Because it might not be the same fix on every page.
Right.
But you want to fix your big problems first, which is another reason why you want to listen. So like if you have one page that everyone just seems to land on and they go away, what can you do to make that one page better?
Right. And here's the thing, listen to your analytics. Don't listen to people. Okay. Because it's really funny. I had somebody who went to the Dreamcatcher opt-in page, and I got this message, and she said, your page, if you put like some graphics on it or you put some other things on it, it might convert better. Now, I knew the numbers for that page. That page was converting at about 67%, which for any opt-in page is ridiculous.
Yes, if you watched or if you were with us for episode 79 for the 4x4x3 insightful guide, you'll learn that to be in the top 10 for conversions for an opt-in page, it's, I believe, 11%.
Right. So this page, and so I said, I appreciate your feedback. Thank you so much. We'll take that into consideration. Now, if I didn't know my numbers, I would have gone, oh my God, I need to put a picture on there. I need to, I need to spruce up that page. No, we don't. It does wonderfully.
Yeah. And there's another great story with this too. And another beautiful thing of having analytics to listen, right? I don't know if anyone out here is like me who loved Dr. House. And he'd always come up with things that patients lie. They're always liars. And what he meant in the non-sarcastic version is people tell you their perception of the truth, but it's not always the real truth. For example, people might tell you, this is what we want, this is what we want. But when you draw them into your website and you once again, you watch the user flows happen when they hit that page that they say they want. And instead of following the path that they say they want, they follow a different path on your website. What does that tell you? The other path is what they really want.
Right.
They think they want A, but what they want is B. So start giving them B.
Exactly. So don't listen to people, listen to analytics.
That's right.
Okay.
I don't tell your customers they all lie because that's not, the real truth, but it's the house version of the truth.
And it's just, be gracious. Say thank you so much for your feedback. Yeah. We'll take that into consideration.
Yeah, because think about it. If anyone's taking the time to try and help make your product or your service or whatever you're doing better, that's awesome. Be super grateful for those people because even if they're wrong, they're trying to help. But the reason you want to know the truth is by looking at results. And maybe you have a questionable return rate. So maybe you do try and add an image sometimes and see maybe that does work. And it might or might not. But, you have to kind of look at them, the important pages and your pages with high bounce and high drop-off rates to figure out how can I make these better serve the people who come here.
Right.
And that's by listening.
Listening's a good thing.
Yes. Okay. And then much the same stuff for sales pages too. how many of you put up something, create a sales page in your website? Maybe you get some conversions, maybe you don't. Oh, wait, you would know because you get the money, right? But like, what percentage of the people who go there give you money? And if they don't give you money, do you know why? And we went over this very extensively in the last episode, but it's the same ideas here. Change one thing at a time. Find out where they're dropping off. Use your analytics to find out where your message is falling flat.
Right. And, this is the same thing with, say you're a brick and mortar business and you have like a contact form. You should be looking to see, okay, how many people go from your gallery to your contact form to filling out your contact form? Are you asking for too much information in that form?
Yes. Asking for everything that you're going to need to put into your computer systems when they become a customer, you're probably losing people at your contact form.
Right. They've even said that, if you ask for, and I understand, like, if you're a brick and mortar, you need their name, maybe you need their phone number. Your phone number is going to tell them whether or not they're in your area code. And maybe email address. I'd want the email address because that's an easy way to contact them. But don't ask for full address. Don't ask for, how much work they want done. You can have a comment box that's optional.
Yeah.
But don't ask them to fill out a 10-minute form.
No.
Okay.
Because, like you said, there's definitely statistics to back up the fact. Every additional element you ask them on that form will cost you people.
Right. And that's even true for email opt-in forms.
Yes. For any time you ask them to fill out a form, every additional element you ask for, the less likely you are to get conversions.
Right.
Now, so there are some things you really need to think about with this, right? So ultimately, it's about improving your customer experience, your customer service, and think of your website as just an employee. A robot employee, if it makes you feel better, because you don't have to pay, you're not paying them really. So, but help the website improve the way it serves the people who go there.
Yeah, I really like that. You need to look at when are you losing customers? When are they dropping off? Yeah. Right, and we've talked about all the ways that you can do that. What type of return on investment are you getting from your tools?
Yeah, because the more advanced you get into marketing online, there are so many tools out there, and some of them are really expensive. But is the increase that you're getting matching the value of the cost of the product?
Right.
And really, maybe you can't afford any of those right now. How could a person possibly track this if they don't do that? Well, that's what we do right now, to be honest. We take the important numbers and we go put them in this thing called Excel. It's a spreadsheet, and you can put numbers in there, and it can do all the mathing for you. But the thing is, and I kind of joke around about it a little bit, but the thing is, it takes me probably 5 minutes a month to track all of the key numbers because, one, we know the purpose. So we're not tracking everything. And we're not pulling in all of the user flows. We do those, we study those to make improvements. But the basic results we're looking for, we put in a spreadsheet so we can see if we're going in the right direction.
Right. And typically, like with user flow, we're looking at that when we're looking at redesigning a website. We're looking to say, we're not really getting the conversions we want, or it doesn't seem like people are going where we want them to go. Let's go look at the user flow. This is not something that we look at every day, every week, not even really every month. This is something that when we're looking at tweaking things to get better results, that's when we start looking at that. Don't get obsessed with your numbers.
Yeah, because you're going to lose perspective. You're going to see, wait, I got 100 less, visits yesterday than the day before, and wait, my site's going down. And then you fail to forget that 3 months ago you're still up 100%. So it'll be shocking sometimes. That's the reason why it's good to track the numbers so you can see the long-term growth. You can see if you're going in the right direction. Because it's never going to be straight up or straight down or in a line. It's going to be jagged.
Right, and that's the thing. And so with accounting and focus, that is mostly ad revenue driven. And so, if I didn't really understand my numbers, last week I would have started freaking out because the revenue was going down, the traffic was going down, but I understand that is normal in March because every March, all college students have spring break. Most of them were on spring break last week.
And we could tell from our numbers.
Right. And so, yes, the numbers go down, the revenue goes down. But then this week, it's funny because my college is actually on spring break this week, but most students are back to school. The numbers went back up.
Yep.
The revenue went back up. And actually, it's higher than it was before they all went on spring break. So, don't get so caught up in these numbers, especially if you're just starting to look at them, that you start to freak out and panic and think that you've got to start changing things.
Yeah. And then once you start making some money, there's an app that we're looking at already, and it will help centralize all of your analytics into one spot. It's called Wicked Reports. And I'm not going to go into Wicked Reports here a lot, but it's just a very great idea to where, it has connections with different things. So you can bring in all this information and you can create reports to see, especially like if you're in a live launch, you're following these a lot more closely for those specific pages. Because like if you're in a live launch, you need to know, wait, I'm losing people at stage 2. I need to fix stage 2 because it's ongoing for a period of time. So go through and know that stuff. But when you start getting a budget, and it's not super expensive to get started, it's expensive, but in the realm of the information it gives you, it's, I think, a very good way to spend money when you start making money. Wicked Reports, and I'm sure there are variants to it too, but that's the one we're really looking at. So, but that's a way just to centralize all of it into one spot, so you're not hopping over to 30 websites to get your numbers.
It eliminates the need for like the Google spreadsheet and
Now, we've talked about some of the risks along the way, and Kristen did something pretty good, but just to reinforce some of them is remember why you're doing this, and you're doing this to better serve the people who are interacting with you, whether it's for your local business or your online business. You're using this as a tool to better serve them,
right?
And keep that in mind, and create privacy pages for your site and be honest on them. Hey, I'm using Google and Facebook Pixel, but we try not to share your information out. And, we will try our best to protect your information, but to let you know, here are a couple of the third-party tools, especially if you start using third-party tools to help you analyze this stuff, especially the free ones. Guess what they do? They're using the information as well. So just be honest when you put together your privacy policies and share that online and follow them.
Right.
So don't get mad and I need a little bit more money this month. I'm going to sell all my user emails to shady site A.
Yeah, don't do that.
And really remember, that ultimately, if you can benefit your customers, you should see an increase in your return on investment across the board. That's the reason big companies have customer service and they get very serious about it. And beyond that, if you start making more money, it does make life easier. It really does.
Right. And, making your customer experience better makes your business better, makes you better, right? Because you're less stressed out.
Yeah.
I think, one of the greatest causes of stress that I see from the business owners that I interact with is that their sales are not where they want them to be. And using these tools can help you increase your sales, which will decrease your stress. And, it helps your family, right? Because I think we often forget that our little ball of stress doesn't just affect us. It affects everyone around us.
And we've all been on the other side of that too, right? But then we don't think about it when we're the ball of stress. But you've been in that circumstance where you go out with your friend to lunch and you love your friend and you haven't seen them in months and they're hunched over and they're growling and they're eating their food and staring at you like they're about to bite your nose off. And you feel afraid. I do. Don't feel afraid. Don't be that ball of stress.
Right, exactly. So, the key takeaways from this episode, right? Make sure that your website is hooked up to Google Analytics. There's plugins for that. And then take a look at, the sessions, users, bounce rate, drop-offs, and look at your user flow if you've never looked at it before. take a look at, your social analytics, things like the Facebook pixel, which are really easy to add to your website now. Look at your opt-in conversions for your email marketing. Are you getting the kind of conversions you want? Now, remember, as Jeff said, the average conversion's 11%. Okay. So, be realistic with that, but also, feel free to make changes if you think, one change at a time, if you think they're warranted.
And remember too, we like to dream big here. So we always shoot for at least 20%. We do.
We do. I know.
But if you fall short and you're at 16%, that's probably still a pretty good funnel.
Right. You're still doing great. And then look at your sales page conversion or your contact form conversion to see, are people dropping off from there?
Sorry, I get excited with this stuff. What we're really saying is become data geeks like us. You need to in this age. You really need to some degree. And you can spend money to help outsource some of the gathering of it for you. But really, when you brace this idea that becoming the data geek is it's going to improve your interaction with your customers. It's going to maybe help you a little bit with your SEO. It's going to increase the cash coming into your business, and it's really going to, give you the knowledge to fix the mistakes, not guessing, but give you actual knowledge to fix the actual mistakes that are holding your business back.
Right. Exactly. There's no mathing involved, especially if you use Google Analytics, it gives you all the numbers.
Computers are good at math. You don't need to be.
You just have to look to say, okay, what are the points that I need to fix? That's all.
Focus on the understanding and the knowledge, because that's what will help you serve people better.
Right. So we hope that you will take a look at some of these tools, in the next week. If you have any questions, reach out to us via our Facebook group, facebook.com/groups/smallbizlife. And, if you know somebody who's kind of stuck with this in their business, share this episode with them. And if they don't know how to listen to podcasts, show them.
That's right. That's love. Love is showing.
Exactly. Sharing is caring.
Sharing is caring. Thank you. Whichever WordPress thing first did that. Okay.
And you can go to smallbizlife.com. We'll give you the links to all the resources we talked about, like Google Analytics, the Facebook Pixel, Wicked Report, so that you can check them out yourself. So thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you again next week.
This was Small Biz Life.